यार $1 million भेजे मेरे को कल रात को. I think that is compensation enough यार. Come on, how many times will you embarrass me यार?
नहीं, वो हमारा प्रोटोकॉल है, सिंपल।
So let's start.
Sure.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for taking time out of your weekend to be with us today. Your presence speaks the power of connection, learning, and the commitment we share as a community. As at the Society of Design Thinking Professionals, we take pride in being the world's largest community of certified design thinking practitioners. Our mission is to evangelize design thinking and other innovation frameworks. And since our inception, we have trained over 25,000 people, certified more than 1,000 practitioners, and worked with over 100 clients. Together, we are driving real change across industries, and it's because of members like you that the movement continues to grow. For over 2 years, we have been hosting community meets to foster connection, share diverse perspectives, and keep the flame of curiosity and learning alive. These sessions are a platform for support, collaboration, and building a sense of belonging within our growing network. With that said, it is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, a multifaceted entrepreneur, a true inspiration in the world of startups and innovation, Mr. Anil Chikara, famously known as the Katappa of startups. He is the chairman of the Startup India Foundation, founder and CEO of Blue Bolt Startup Factory, and the force behind countless successful ventures. His entrepreneurial journey spans across industries and continents, from founding one of the India's pioneering EdTech startups, 27 Learning, to building sustainable mobility solutions through Bluebolt Electric. His ventures have immensely impacted the startup ecosystem. As a startup mentor, he has helped expand the global footprint of Marwari Catalysts, guiding over 80 startups to success, and he's consistently been recognized for his leadership in shaping the future of Indian tech. His passion goes beyond the business world. As an amateur sculptor, OTT actor, and TEDx speaker, his creativity knows no bounds. His current projects, a collectible card venture that celebrates India's rich heritage and EdTech initiative, showcases his relentless drive to merge art, heritage, culture, and technology in inspiring ways. As he believes, the only limit our realization of tomorrow is the doubt we hold today. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Anil Chikara. Over to you, sir.
थैंक यू सो मच आफरी। अनिल जी, एक सेकंड है, मैं लूंगा।
बोलो बोलो.
मुझे कभी फॉर्मली थैंक यू करने का मौका नहीं मिला, so I'm using this platform for a lot of people are not aware. This call goes back to, I think, October or November 2017. Anil ji called me one day and said, Jimmy, I'm doing a Seaside Startup Summit in Goa in March 2018. और मुझे ये पता है कि you're writing something and I want you to publish it there. तो you know what happens is when you write something with a mind कि चल ठीक है आज नहीं तो कल publish करूंगा, but the moment the deadline comes in ना, the process hastens up, and that is why I said चलो ठीक है हम अप्रैल में इसको launch करेंगे. And that is how my first book was launched in the Seaside Startup Summit in April 2018. So force behind that is Anil ji. That's one. Second, what work you see what we do globally now as an SDTP. So SDTP came into limelight through that Seaside Startup Summit in Goa. Those were also our initial days of SDTP setup, but that gave us a lot of impetus. As a result of that, he introduced SDTP to Startup Foundation Armenia. And from then on, we are regularly reaching out and working with the Startup Foundation Armenia as well, right? So Anil is a great friend, and I'm really honored and really thankful for him for guiding me for so many years. And today is the opportunity where you can guide our community as well. So over to you, Anil bhai. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
No, Jimmy, I would like to say one thing. See, opening a door is highly overrated. It's very, malab, I may have opened doors for thousands of people, but the only few who really leveraged it and grow it and all that. So मेरे ख्याल से opening door का इतना फायदा नहीं होता. But yes, it's like are you in front of the right person? But just opening a door is not enough. So I have not done anything like that. I saw potential and I exposed it. And उसके बाद तो यार मतलब you have more friends in Armenia and UAE and all that after that even I have. So don't give that to Shrey to me.
Thank you.
Anyway, so guys, good morning. When Jimmy told me that I need to do a session, and I started thinking because one of the common things is design. Matlab, that's the whole kind of, the soul of SDTP, where design becomes the central element. And then I started thinking that what role has design played in my life? And I kind of went back into I'm 59 years old, so I do have enough years to go back to. So I went back and I started thinking here, when I did my startup, how did the fact that I am okay, so a bit about myself. I did my engineering from REC Kurukshetra. I did mechanical engineering because that has the least number of papers. I actually got electrical and I changed it to mechanical. So the focus was very less when I went to college into studying engineering principles, but was more of, finally I'm here to open to exploring the world. So in the first year itself, I became the president of Fine Arts Club. I used to, मतलब पढ़ाई के अलावा काफी कुछ किया, and I'm one of those backbenchers. And as a side note, when I go back to colleges and I see those backbenchers, I see entrepreneurs there, because the front benchers are the guys who will work for those backbenchers. Anyway, so coming back to that, so I thought that, there's a big parallel between me. So I'm a sculptor. I make collage, which is one of my core form of arts. So when I was in college, 83 to 1988, in 85, I was chosen as amateur artist of the year by Association of Indian Universities. So every year they pick up one amateur artist. And at that time in Vigyan Bhavan, you used to have youth awards. So Rajiv Gandhi was the prime minister at that time. So I did my series, and as you can expect, I was famous for my nudes in college. So I used to do charcoal and stuff like that. And my inspiration till today is Jatin Das. And that is the kind of, my go-to artist kind of a thing. So anyway, when I got out of college, I wanted to get into advertising. Obviously, my dad, who was from Air Force, he was really mad at me. I would go around Delhi, going to advertising agencies, trying to get a job. Everybody would say, "Hey, you are an engineer. Why are you doing this?" Today times are very different. Today I have seen engineers becoming media professionals, engineers becoming artists, engineers becoming chefs, engineers becoming top lawyers and stuff like that. Those things were unheard of in the late 80s. And my dad stopped giving me money. So finally I said, yaar, naukri to karni padegi. So I started worked with HCL, then I worked with Wipro. Then I set up operations for American company called Parametric. And because I was really good at design, and I think that the sculpting background helped me, I specialized in the CAD CAM world, where we talk about 3D models, 3D this thing. And my customers were like Tata Motors, designing the engines and all that. So I heavily got into that. I also set up operations for an Israeli company, which is again into manufacturing, but again into simulation and stuff like that. And somewhere I thought I chose that career because it was satisfying my designer side also. And I remember in 2000. So if I look back and say which were my first startups, and earlier I used to think that the startup is where I would set up a private company, blah, 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 blah. But when I looked at the whole concept of the startup, I said, which were my first startups? Next. So, so my first startup was related to comics. I was in class, I think seventh in Central Kendriya Vidyalaya. My father was in Air Force. He was posted in Bareilly at that time. And I used to love reading comics. And I think my initial, that really excitement was comics. But I couldn't afford them. And so the bookshop guy wouldn't let me stand at the bookshop and read the comics. So I started an underground comic rental business. So I got a 1 week credit period from the shopkeeper. I would take the comic, finish it in half an hour, and then in the class, circulate it and all that, and charge like 50 paisa or whatever for each reading. And this was running successfully. I had 2 big boxes full of comics in about 6-7 months. But as you say, that this is the first time I didn't understand it that, but this is the first time I understood what is a regulatory sudden death, the kind of thing that happened to Sept Feed or a lot of crypto startups and all that. So one fine morning, I get up, I go to school, and somebody has told the principal or snitched on me. So my comics are confiscated. I get called to the principal school. My parents get called, and you know the routine. And then that time, those are the time that where a bit of physical slapping here and there also was very normal. So that was my first startup. Started, shut down, experience great. And then my second startup, which I think is the serious one, was in year 2000, 2001. This was when the whole dot-com boom was going on. SIFI had acquired certain company for 500 crores, and I said, let's do that. So I started 24/7 Learning, which was an edtech startup. And we used to build up virtual campuses or virtual universities for corporates. And I still remember when in the initial stages for the first, I think almost 2 to 3 years, every website, every learning portal, every content, every book, every guide, everything that went out had to go under, I did the design for that personally. And obviously, as the company grows, we raised a round of investment in 2005. 2007, we raised another $4 million from Network 18. So earlier, later on, but that is where I saw a lot of my design thinking, or I would say the design sensibility. Uh, I have never been formally trained in design and all that. I'm more of an amateur, self-grown. I've not done. I've done a small course in sculpting, but that was like a month course from New York. So it's not really like dedicated couple of years of art. So I was more like that. But this is, I think, started the foundation of my what I was doing. And this told me that what is the power of design thinking in entrepreneurship. One is, it's like this elephant, 5 or 10 people will go and say, okay, I'm the blind guy and I will hold the leg and say, oh, elephant is like this. Somebody will hold the tail and say elephant is like this. And I think that something, and especially for first time entrepreneurship becomes like this. So you can look at entrepreneurship from multiple facets. One thing is pure commercial. So you create a brilliant business plan and say, okay, this is the margin, this is what we'll do it, this is the supply, this is the demand, this is the arbitrage we have, whatever. And that is a very different way of looking at it. You may look at it from a social impact perspective and say, okay, I will do it because this is. But then when I look back at my ventures, I said I always looked at it more like a designing. It's like a collage. Like, for example, the stuff that you see, disclaimer, this is not my collage, because unfortunately, all the collages I did when I was in college and all that, my friends took it all away. So today I have maybe 1 or 2 sculptors, but sculpting pieces, but no collage. But I've just started. So if you look at a collage, that's the how do you create a collage where you take it's actually a journey from chaos to clarity. So the moment you say pure design and artist, and you are saying here, sometimes the design is like really beautiful, which I would put, and very seamless and clean, which I would kind of analogy would be that big streamlined companies that are running like Tata Motors or whatever, big companies, how they're running, and it looks like a very structured thing. But the moment you come to startups, and especially your first time startup, it's chaos. It's really chaos. But within that chaos is things that connect to each other. And slowly, if you look from a perspective of artist and an entrepreneur, the whole journey of from an idea level, that one day you're sitting and say, oh, why can't I do this thing? Oh, this problem seems big. And options available for this problem are not really great. They are giving incremental benefits. So maybe I can do something different. And And we all know that real innovation happens when people from a different industry come to a totally new industry and they just do it. And because the new industry says, no, our industry, things have been happening like this. And that industry has got streamlined over the decades because it's a big industry. It has got streamlined and it looks like a neat, maybe a drawing or something like. But here comes a guy who says, no, in your industry, I'm going to do things like this. And the industry guy says, oh, it's never been done. You can't do it. Why? Nobody did it. Okay, I'll do it. And they do that. So imagine it's like a very calm river running, and here comes a big rock which gets thrown in the river, and then this creates a chaos. And that is the impact that has this thing. And then slowly, as the startup grows, I think that is when the startup clarity comes in. So I have personally always looked at it from this perspective. And especially, obviously, at end of the day, if you're doing a startup, what's the big deal? There's a demand, here's a supply. I'm giving you X value for which you will pay me Y. So the real reason, and a lot of startups, think that startups are great because of maybe the IP they have. Startups are great because of the celebrities founder they have. Startups are great because of a very sexy industry that they're targeting, blockchain, crypto, whatever. But what I have learned in my 30 years is that the most important person is the customer. And you need to look at it from a customer perspective. Yes, I do believe that, customers may not know everything. But when I say they do not know everything about what they need, is what I mean is that they are not able to articulate. I think in conscious or subconscious mind, every customer knows what they want, but maybe they can't articulate it. And I felt that the best way to do that is get into their shoes. Think from their perspective and say, yeah, if I were a customer, what would I get excited about? Things like that. So customer-centric problem solving is one of the key. And then so you talk to the customer, you find the solution and say, okay, I'm going to create this solution to that. And that's when the whole ideation, prototyping, what we call the minimum viable product, MVP or beta, whatever you call it. That's when you start prototyping, iterating. For example, this face that you see, this is one of my pieces that I sculpted in New York. I learned in New York and came and sculpted it and back in Bangalore. And this was from a very famous sculptor, The Screen. And I realized the first one I made, it was like a cartoon. I could have sent it to Cartoon Network and they would have featured in one of their cartoons. But because I couldn't capture that emotion, that thing, and then I iterated, and finally I came to something which I said, oh, this now meets the requirement. And I think that is the whole process of prototyping, iteration, and trying to create something that finally you start with a square peg and finally it fits in, even though where it fits in is not square, but you have prototyped and iterated in a way that the final thing really matches what you needed. Any questions till now? Am I talking to a big void, or are there people listening to me? Jimmy, should we have questions now?
Yeah. We can always check.
मैं तो दौड़ता चला जाऊंगा यार, तुझे पता है.
Yes, let's take a pause here.
Please.
Any thoughts, comments, questions, anyone?
No, absolutely. When it comes to, we don't have any questions as such, but definitely a few things to say.
Please.
I've already mentioned that in the chat box, and you rightly said that it is very important to have a customer-centric view of what is the requirement. Where that we say na, when we say something, it is something, but when customer says something, it is everything.
Yeah.
So very rightly put, Anuji.
But other thing I would say is that we need to and the question and what I said was that the biggest challenge of customers is they can't articulate what they need.
Yes.
So they will say think a lot, which means that we as entrepreneurs need to be reading between the lines. अगर ये बोल रहा है तो इसका मतलब ये है.
Absolutely.
This is the insecurity, or this is the unmet demand that he is actually referring to or she is referring to. I agree.
Maybe a difference between what he wants and what he needs.
हाँ बिल्कुल. Well, I want a Porsche, yaar, but do I need it? I don't need it, yaar.
That is something we have to articulate and differentiate.
Exactly. Any other question?
क्वेश्चन तो नहीं है, बट मुझे वो
बोलो.
इंद्रजाल कॉमिक्स देख के ना बहुत कुछ याद आ गया. वो
यार मेरे पास 2 boxes थे and my father got transferred from Bareilly to Bagdogra near Darjeeling and he refused to take that boxes and still when I think of it pains me. I'm like, imagine if I today had those comics. मतलब वो collectible हो गए होते यार.
अनिल, I must say, मैंने भी ये स्टार्टअप शुरू किया था. आपका जो धंधा बंद हुआ था, that was because of the regulatory issues.
Yes.
मेरे साथ दुर्घटना हो गई थी, चोरी हो गई थी.
Nice. Thank you, Anil ji. Please continue.
ठीक है. Okay.
Any other thoughts, anyone?
Yeah, Satish, do you want to add anything here? Kalyani?
Just to share, Anil ji, Satish right now probably must be crossing Kurukshetra.
Oh.
Yeah, he's driving.
I'm driving between Kurukshetra and Chandigarh right now.
Oh.
No, I think I caught up the last few minutes of your speech. Thank you. I think Steve Jobs put it very rightly when he said that I should have the capacity of articulating the thoughts of the consumers which they themselves don't know. That's why the Apple came, the mobile, the touch phone. Otherwise, it was a feature phone.
Yeah.
But the larger challenge to me is that how do we get to the core of the consumer's problem, which means essentially, as you rightly said, that the customers can't articulate. Now, if you want to become a successful entrepreneur, to my knowledge, is to understand what are they really wanting, and that's a huge challenge. I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah.
And just
something.
Yes, please.
Kalyani was saying something. Yes, Arvind, please go ahead.
Just before.
Yes,
please,
sir.
Kalyan,
Please go ahead.
Please carry on, Kalyan.
No, just wanted to understand whenever things not go in right direction, unreasonable demand or something like that from client end, then what we do, we empathize with them, but still sometimes it is like very unreasonable demand.
You're talking from customers?
Customer's point of view, yes.
Actually,
I'm in service industry.
Understood. So my experience shows that the first thing that the customer tells you is not what they need. That's a reaction or a manifestation of what they actually need. And a lot of people say this, ki customer is stupid, they don't know, we need to educate the customer. No, customer knows it 100%. They can't articulate it. That's what. And I think there is a bit of digging that goes in. So that is true. But on the other side, from a business perspective, and this what I did was in the first 2-3 years of my business, 2001, when I started, I realized in the first 4 or 5 years, I collected a lot of desperation accounts. Where in the initial I said, nahi yaar, I need this and all that. I know this customer is the person sitting there, or it's always people. It's not organization. It's always people. And I realized here I had collected these, and there came a time where I had to take a tough call and I say, look, sorry, unless you get into AMC, unless you do this, because initially you will make concessions for your customers. You will give them crazy pricing, special deal. And then they think that is normal. So you need to have a shedding exercise where periodically you shed the customer relations that you have developed. And I personally feel this is also relates to life, where you have a lot of relationships when you get out of college, and over the years, you start shedding them and all that. There's nothing wrong in that. It's fine. So even if after all you're digging this, that, and the customer is unreasonable, you need to say, thank you, boss, and move on. Does that answer your question?
Anil ji, are we saying that we choose the customer you want to work with?
100%. यार नहीं तो मैं पागल हूँ यार, entrepreneur क्यों बना मैं फिर?
सही है.
If I had to follow somebody else's thing, then I was happy getting a crazy salary in an MNC, yaar.
Very rightly
Very
said.
true.
But
Yes.
here my boss would set up the criteria and say, "Ye teri territory. These are the 20 top industries that you need to go sell," and I would go one. Whether I like them or don't like them, it's not my choice. But then when you said entrepreneur, yaar, uske baad bhi yahi karoge, to yaar, you just shifted your malik. You still are not free.
Yeah,
I love that. Love that.
Yes.
Hey, entrepreneur इसीलिए बने.
भाई बने यार, अपना बॉस बने यार, इसीलिए तो बने थे, साला कोई बॉस की सुननी नहीं पड़े. कोई कॉर्पोरेट में तो यार, you also know that ना, Wipro, I've seen it, people rise to their ultimate level of incompetence, and then you will see guys and you will come in and say, यार इसको किसने बिठाया यहाँ पे? You know, if there are only two ways, either you fall in line and work like that, or you get out and create your own world.
I like this line, the ultimate line of incompetence. That reminds me of someone saying that the expansion of VP sales is very poor in sales.
Yeah.
Rather than vice president.
बिल्कुल. So cool है, आगे चलें?
Sure.
बिल्कुल.
So the next thing is the creativity and innovation part. Like when you are doing innovation, where do you, like this is another collage. And I don't know how many guys know collage. Collage is an art of taking materials from all different kind of sources and get them together to create beauty. The biggest physical 3D collage, and you're driving, one of you is driving to Chandigarh, is the garden, Sukna garden के side में वो जो है, Jamie, I don't forget the name of that guy who created this.
Neck Chand, Rock Garden.
Rock garden. That's a collage right there. क्या किया उसने?
वो देखने जा रहे हैं वैसे.
Exactly.
My mother-in-law.
So the world looks at whatever is around you as maybe this is scrap, this is nothing, this is nothing. A scrap plus a scrap plus a scrap can become something useful, you know, a sum of parts kind of a thing. And that is what entrepreneurs do when they go into a industry or any domain or any this thing. They say, yaar, they are going to do something which the experienced people in that domain or industry can't think of. Which means that whatever they do, it will be kind of unexpected, because expectation to different hai. In the hospitality industry, this is the expectation, or in the healthcare industry, this is the expectation. This is how things have been worked. But here comes an entrepreneur and says, "Ki yaar, theek hai, in your industry it doesn't happen, but somewhere else it happens, and why can't I bring that model into this industry?" And innovation really happens when you mix unexpected things. Rather than saying कि यार okay, मेरे को fintech में करना है, तो मेरे को क्या चाहिए, मेरे को finance के बंदे चाहिए, मेरे को इसके चाहिए. But somebody may say कि यार fintech में करना है, why can't I look at it from for example, the agriculture industry as a farmer, and let me look at it from that perspective. And that is what happens when people, मतलब वो कहते हैं ना, I'm saying this in a nice way. We use this kahavat in a weird way also. कि कहीं का ईंट कहीं का रोड़ा भानुमती ने कुंबा जोड़ा. And you know, startups are like this. I remember when BPO industry boomed, and I was in Bangalore, and this is when BPO started. I started my company 24/7 Learning, and 24/7 Customer was also started at that time. There are a lot of BPOs coming up. There was no BPO industry in India before that. What do? They would like go, "Oh, you are hotel industry, customer service, aja. This thing, you also come. Oh, you are a sales guy, you talk well, yaar, tu bhi aja." So people came from all different kind of industries and all that, and the team that you are creating, and take this analogy to your own this thing. The team that you create is so different people, they're unexpected, and when that comes, the magic happens. You know, and that's when the whole industry grew up. I would say closer to what I'm doing right now. I'm, as you know, I'm also an OTT actor. I've done 2 web series. There's a movie Netflix thing we are talking about, and that was also like, let me do my bucket list checklist. But when I went into that, and I'm like, we in startup ecosystem think we are so great that we find an unmet need, and in 3 to 4 years we go and give that big value and maybe get acquired and invested and grow big and all that. 3 to 4 years, if we can do it, we are like fucking awesome. When I went into this industry and I said, like, this is the peak of creativity and innovation. All the writer, or it's actually a writer, he has an idea and he says, yeah, why can't we show it like this? He doesn't even write the entire story. He just writes a concept, goes to something, and the concept is sold. And then they start thinking and all that. So imagine in our startup ecosystem, we say that you will not get an investor unless you have an MVP and some market traction has been shown कि यार ये मैंने product बनाया, and actually there are customers who are willing to pay for it. थोड़ा तो करना पड़ेगा, दिखाना पड़ेगा ना. Here everything is on a conceptual level, but the people there are so creative that they can all visualize and say, okay, हाँ इसका ये बनेगा. You know, the startup in a, what do you say, in a OTT world is the idea comes in, takes about 3 months to pitch and flesh and all that. This idea takes another 3 months to get a go ahead, another 3 months for all the contracts, agreement, this thing, and in 3 to 6 months they go on the floor, the shooting and all that, and the season comes out. So in 12 to 15 months, from a pure idea in somebody's head, and the series is available on Netflix or wherever, OTT, to see. And when I saw that, I said, what stages do investors take a risk and all that? I'm like, yaar, hamara startup hum bahut top mein, lekin this is the real thing. Within 12 months from idea to product outside there. You know, and why? Because if you look at OTT industry, why is it happening like this? See, the Bollywood or Hollywood has been established for about 30, 40, 50, whatever years. And things happen in a certain, that's how it happens in every industry. As it grows old, the rules come in, the big guys come in, they set the rules, the sharks will set the rules, the whales or sharks, whatever you call them. And that is how things happen. When a new industry comes up, you know, like the way OTT has come up in the last 5 to 10 years, and it really got a huge fillip in COVID when people had enough time to watch that. And I think that is where the real creativity and innovation comes in, when everybody is new. Have you made a web series before? No. Have you made? No. Both are first time. Okay, let's look at it and let's do what we can. You know, and that is what I tell entrepreneurs is that if you are trying to do something, look at the industry that you are in. Or the more thaka hua that industry is, the more you can actually benefit from that. Yeah, there's a process, there's a way that you need to do it. It won't just happen by idea and all that. But I think the best breeding ground for creativity and innovation is when the existing players are too set in their ways, and an outsider can come and do this mix of unexpected and create a enterprise or venture out of that. And this is my favorite part, storytelling. You know, it's like, I give this example. I recently did this session where they said, how storytelling is important. I said, when Netaji Subhash Chandra, he was building INA, Indian National Army, and he was recruiting people. And I know villages in my Haryana where from each village you had hundreds of youth go and, you know, join them. He didn't say ki yaar dekho, this is the total potential and this is the strategic plan, this is the this. He didn't come and tell them from that. He said, तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा. Well, it can't get more crude and basic than that. I'm talking about what is the transaction? You give me your blood and I'll give you freedom. And that was enough. So storytelling has that power. Similarly, if you see Martin Luther King, when he did this huge march, he didn't say, yaar, we have a plan, we will change this, let's get this law, let's get this is what you're fighting for. He said, I have a dream. And everybody said, oh, wow, what dream? And he's like, this is my dream. I'm like, we would like to be part of that. So I think stories move people. We all know that this thing. And unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this, and especially those which are more tech-oriented guys, typical CTO kind of founders, or even simple domain guys and all that, who are so focused on domain. And that is where the mix of entrepreneurs come in. And I tell them, you need to have somebody who can tell a story. I'm not saying you get just a storyteller to come in as a founder, but that's one of the critical things. Jimmy, any questions? Or I can keep boom, 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 go ahead.
We'll check. Another Q check. Any comments, thoughts?
Any comments, anyone? If you want to share or add to it or want to ask.
I like the concept of a startup is a collage.
Thank you.
Very, very insightful.
Thank you, man.
And especially the example which you used, the example of rock garden.
Yeah.
एक चेंज का एग्जांपल जो था, and especially कि जो औरों की नजर में बेकार है,
कचरा है, किसी के लिए कचरा है और किसी के लिए वैल्यू है यार. That is the difference between an entrepreneur and a normal guy. किसी के लिए वो प्रॉब्लम है, किसी के लिए वो अपॉर्चुनिटी है. It's just a नजरिया है बॉस. Cool.
I really like the part where we said that most creativity and creativity and inspiration comes out from where it is the most dull. I really love that
बिल्कुल.
Yeah.
मतलब तुम किसी कॉन्फ्रेंस में जाओ किसी इंडस्ट्री की और तुम्हें नींद आ जाए ना, तो बहुतों में आती है आजकल.
स्टोरी टेलिंग में जो आपने बताया, तुम मुझे खून दो.
I think Mirza, we couldn't hear you. I think the connection was not that great.
Tehzeeb, we are not able to hear you. You want to add something? You can write
Afreen, maybe she can send you a message and you can read out.
Yeah, please.
Yeah?
Write it in the chat box.
I like this the storytelling part कि तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा, right? And perhaps this reminds me कि when I was used to work with Bajaj Allianz at the launching time, and I was recruiting the agents to do the insurance. I just used to tell them कि हम एक थाईलैंड की टीम बना रहे हैं जिसमें 12 लोग जाएंगे. 8 लोग आ चुके हैं, तुम आना चाहते हो क्या? So that again, perhaps I can relate कि इसको simple रखा, तुम मुझे खून दो मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा, तुम मुझे मेहनत दो मैं तुम्हें थाईलैंड ले चलूंगा.
Simple. And I tell my guys, the guys who work with me, I know I'm a very tough. If I had to work under me, I would never work under me.
Anil ji,
boss, crazy and all that. But what I tell people is कि यार 1 साल दे दे अपना, 2 साल दे दे अपना, बहुत पुश करूंगा, बहुत रगड़ूंगा, बहुत होगा, एंड यू विल से यार कहाँ फंस गया. पर 2 साल बाद जब निकले ना, उसके बाद तो कहेगा यार मैं जब इसको संभाल लिया तो मैं किसी को भी संभाल सकता हूँ. You know what I mean? And see, people love challenges. People love this thing. एक basically engagement चाहिए यार. अलग अलग वो है हमारे, प्यार से होता है, हेट से होता है, रिवेंज होता है. I know there are some this thing and you need to connect somewhere. And I think same goes with customers also, not just getting your co-founders or your employees and all that. When I used to go and meet people like Aditya Birla was my first customer, then we got L&T, Wipro, telecom companies. So my sales guy used to say, boss, आप 2 घंटे बैठ के सिर्फ गप्पे मार रहे हो. तो मैंने कहा यार तो मैं वही सीख ले तो आया हूँ. एंड निकलते निकलते बॉस वो प्रपोजल भेजा था. हाँ विल सी इट. राइट जिमी, दैट people love that, doing that rather than okay cut and dry कि ये सब्जी ले लो इतने पैसे एक खत्म. मैं तो सब्जी वाले के साथ भी कहानी बात करने लग जाता हूँ.
इनफैक्ट दिस रिमाइंड्स मी, जैसे आप बोला ना कि आप बात कर रहे हैं, गप्पे मार रहे हो और बाद में बिजनेस आ रहा है. जब मैं नया लर्निंग और डेवलपमेंट में आया था, I remember my boss, we used to go to meet people at Maruti. Their office used to be in Kasturba Gandhi Marg in Delhi और Connaught Place में. तो ना हम रिसेप्शन में बैठे हुए हैं और उन दिनों नोकिया का फोन आया हुआ था, वो स्नेक गेम खेला करते थे सब. मैं सिंस आई वाज द अकाउंट मैनेजर, मतलब मैं ऊपर नीचे हो रहा हूँ, पता नहीं क्या होगा मीटिंग में, सब मेरा बहुत बड़े प्यार से ना वो स्नेक गेम खेल रहा होता था. लुक एट हिम, एक बार तो मुझे रहा नहीं है, मैंने बस बात, आप गेम खेल रहे हो? कहते हाँ तो और क्या करूं? सर लेटर ऑन आई रियलाइज कि आज अगर आप मुझे बात करें तो शायद मैं भी गेम खेल रहा हूँ क्लाइंट की मीटिंग, वेट करने से पहले।
हाँ,
So these things absolutely, I mean, it's all about that connect.
यस,
On a lighter note, अब मिश्रा जी ना हमारे यहाँ पे सेल्स ड्राइव करते हैं। मिश्रा जी से मैं एक सवाल पूछ रहा हूँ यहाँ पे, तो हमारे लिए कब थाईलैंड का स्कीम बना रहे हैं?
आपको याद नहीं, आप ऑलरेडी बना चुके हैं, जिसमें इसलिए पासपोर्ट में शेयर कर चुका हूँ आपके साथ।
सर अनिल भाई, ओवर टू यू।
ठीक है। So if you look at overall, actionable points, malab starting with empathy. Well, empathy is like being in there. Well, I think the best definition of empathy is ki yaar, if my soul can get into your body and look at the world from your perspective. I think that is the empathy part. Then the whole prototyping thing we talked about, and as you prototype, you go from chaos to slowly to clarity, and iteration again and again and again. And then the beauty of storytelling. I think these are the key things which you do it right initially, and then you start going into a very structured environment where the business plan comes and blah blah blah. The rest of it. So that is all from my side for now, and I would love to open it for Q&A.
Yeah. Is anybody having any questions? I don't think people will be having any questions after such an explainable session. Yeah, it was.
I want to ask you, Anil ji,
Please.
when things don't go the way you expect them to go, how do you rebound? How do you build the resilience? What do you do at that point of time? What would you want to advise?
Okay, I can tell you what I did. मतलब कि हर एक के लिए वो नहीं होता, पर मैं तो ये बता सकता हूँ। तो शुरू में तो मैं एक चुपचाप बाथरूम में जाके रोता था कि यार मैं तो मतलब मेरे साथ ही क्यों, ये जमाना मेरे साथ ही क्यों कर रहा है। मैंने तो देखो इतने दिल से अच्छे से काम किया, ये किया वो किया एंड ऑल दैट, व्हाई मी, इट वाज दैट। बट आई थिंक स्लोली, and I remember that I became so competitive when I was running 24/7 learning. I was heading sales also there, that we would win 9 out of 10 deals. And for that one deal, I will take the pants off of my sales guys. Malab, everybody will say, "Aaj shikara mood mein hai." And you have seen me, yaar, Jimmy. Malab, kaisi colorful guldaste nikalte hain, types and all that. And it came to a stage where, we had one of the board members. He said, "Anil, you need to undergo coaching." And I said, "यार, मैं तो इतना इंडिपेंडेंट वर्क करने वाला हूँ, अपनी ईमेल, अपना प्रपोजल, अपना लाइक फक इट, आई कैन डू माई सेल्फ, आई एम द किंग कॉन्ग। आप अब जाके मेरे को बता रहे हो कोचिंग, आई डोंट नीड कोचिंग." द टिपिकल रिएक्शन. And finally, anyway, to and fro, and he said, करना पड़ेगा, चलो 6 महीने, डन, we did a deal. I said, okay, तुम इतना कह रहे हो ना, तेरे को क्या प्रॉब्लम है, कंपनी will pay for it, it will help you. I said, ठीक है यार, to get rid of them. I said, okay, 6 months. When I went into that, and that's when and we went through that process. I'm sure you know and all that, and we went dug into that insecurities, ये वो सारी कहानी होती है जब होती है तो. And one thing out of that stuck me, मतलब होता है ना दिमाग में एक टेक अवे अटक जाता है जिंदगी के लिए, where he said कि यार अनिल, I'm so happy that you are winning the 7-8 deals out of that, बट यार क्या दूसरों को कुछ नौकरी नहीं करनी, उनको अपने घर नहीं चलाने, उनको मतलब क्या, ये तो बड़ा अजीब तेरा वो है कि नहीं, मैं आई वॉन्ट ऑल ऑफ इट, ऐसे थोड़ी होता है यार. एंड आई एम लाइक, हाँ यार. And this is again, I connect to empathy, where you need to have empathy even for your competitors, right? है ना? And I remember 24/7 Learning is an e-learning company. There was this one e-learning company in Delhi called G-Cube. There was another one in Pune called, there's another one, this thing. And both the founders were juniors from my college. And then I started looking at things very differently. Otherwise, तो मैं तलवार लेके चलता था यार, तू आर मैं काटूंगा तेरे को, मतलब, get my point.
I know.
That's when I wanted to get started going to conferences, and I looked at people from a different way, and we would have daru and they would say, sir, ये बताओ, ये करना है, करना, अबे कर ले यार, वो account, सर घुसे हुए अकाउंट में, लेकिन मेरे पास है, चल तू कर ले, you know. So I don't know if I've answered the question. This has been my journey from that kind of frustration to say कि यार भाई ठीक है ना यार, बाकियों को भी तो करना है, it's okay. You don't win everything, that's fine.
Right, right. You win,
And especially when you are getting into an environment where it is guaranteed that 9 out of 10 or 99 out of 100 will shut down.
Yeah.
We go with our eyes wide open. But हमेशा लगता है एज अ ह्यूमन बीइंग कि यार उसका बंद होगा, मेरा थोड़ी होगा. मैंने तो दिल से मेहनत की है भाई, दिल से तो सब करते हैं यार, है ना.
बिल्कुल सही है, बिल्कुल सही.
And then you realize कि यार ठीक है यार, the parameters for failure are in your own hands. But trust me, the parameters of success are in the ecosystem's hand. ये समझ आ गई तुम्हें, तो फिर वो प्रश्न ठीक है यार, मैंने अपनी तरफ से पूरा किया. And now, as I said, I'm working on this thing where I'm building collectible cards.
Yeah.
Based on our the project is Rear View Insights, where I'm saying here, I missed out on a lot of wisdom from our past. So I'm building this Gita ke upar cards, a 30-day Gita thing for leaders, where every day you reflect on this thing. There's a journal, you write down in that and all that. And by the way, yesterday I will talk to you separately, this conscious leadership thing.
I was about to say that.
मेरा proposal तैयार है भाई.
In fact, for people who don't know,
मैंने कहा यार, and this is my way of, I can't go and read Gita now यार, नहीं है यार, पेशेंस नहीं है, तो कैसे करूंगा साला. every श्लोक I have to do research and say इसके लिए ये श्लोक ठीक है या ये श्लोक, घुसना पड़ेगा ना. And that is my way of learning and doing all that.
Absolutely. Just to add to, for the benefit of all the people, this February, when this entire thought of getting detailed, we were already doing some work on the conscious leadership part, but putting it more structured. So Anilji was one of the core members. I mean, he was the one who actually pushed me. Why don't we do something around this? And I remember we were sitting in Dubai, and you, me, and Samir, if you remember.
Yeah.
The conversation.
You, me, Samir, and beer. That it was in
that conversation. Yeah. So yes, thank you. I'll come back to you. We'll connect on a separate note.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, others, anybody else?
Any thoughts, comments?
So I have a small question.
कोई small नहीं होता यार. I'm sure you have heard this. Size doesn't matter. Yeah. So go ahead with your question. Every question.
Yeah. तो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि मतलब आपने कहा कि मतलब जो चीज 99% फेल हो रही है दूसरों के लिए भी, हमारे लिए भी फेल होगी. मतलब चांसेस कम है, बट ठीक है आप मेहनत करते हो. बट अगर आप फेल हो जाते हो तो उसके बाद फिर आप अपना रास्ता दूसरा कैसे चुनते हो कि मीन्स लाइक अब मुझे क्या करना चाहिए, ये आपको माइंड में कैसे आता है कि मतलब आप आगे क्या करें?
Sure, understood. See, when you do a startup, basically you say कि यार there are based on certain assumptions कि यार ये मेरे को प्रॉब्लम दिखी है, ये प्रॉब्लम इतनी बड़ी है, कैसे पता करें बड़ी, आप तो जाके नापोगे नहीं. You will rely on some research, somebody has done it. Jimmy knows how a lot of research are done, so you go and base, and that's an assumption actually कि हाँ market इतनी बड़ी है. Then what will I do? So you start with a lot of assumptions and say कि यार ये मैं बनाऊंगा और ये market में बिकेगा. When you go with that, either there are only 3 buckets startups fall in. One is the guys who have found their mojo and the startup zooms up. Investment आ गई, acquire होगा, जो भी हो गया. या the next best thing is you started with the assumptions and then you realize कि यार ये तो mismatch हो गया यार. And then you say, okay, I will shut it down. That is the second part. The worst part is you fall in between. As they say, na, वो liquid oxygen वाली कहानी है जीत की. Where you are making enough money to survive, but it is still not hitting that mark. मतलब वो lifestyle business कहानी बन गई. So when I am saying this from the perspective of the ecosystem, perspective of the investors, because end of the day you need money to do that. So I tell guys कि यार देखो business में और स्टार्टअप में यही फर्क है कि बिजनेस आप बनाते हो पूरी जिंदगी के लिए और मे बी अगली पीढ़ी के लिए. ठीक है ना. इंडस्ट्री लगाई, स्टील लगाया, ये लगाया, विच इज नॉट समथिंग इनोवेटिव, बट इट हैज अ सप्लाई चेन डिमांड. एक्स में खरीदा, वाई में बेचा, जेड बच गया, दैट इज. But startup is actually you come up with a use case and you try and prove it in the real world. Till it gets proven, it's just an experiment. And scientists में यार मतलब हजारों एक्सपेरिमेंट करके फिर एक में चमकता है ना. You have to look at it from this way. The problem today is that we start looking at startups from a pure business perspective, and we know यार हमारी सोसाइटी में फेलियर के ऊपर बहुत वो किया जाता है. But have you ever said कि यार पता है एडिसन इतना घटिया था, पता है साले को 1000 बार करना पड़ा जब बल्ब बना. कितने में बना था? आई डोंट रिमेंबर. देयर सम नंबर कि हाउ मेनी टाइम्स. Is it a great thing or is it like what the fuck? But if you say it in a traditional industry कि साले ने 4 बार स्टील इंडस्ट्री लगाई, 4 बार बंद होगी, फर्गेट 1000 बार. समझ रहे हो ना? तो ये अपना पर्सपेक्टिव चेंज करना है. तो यू लुक एट दिस थिंग, यूज केस नहीं हुआ, एंड व्हेन यू लुक एट इट फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव, यू गो इन, यू ट्राई आउट, यूज दिस थिंग. एंड वो कहते हैं यार आवर माइंड इज हैज अ, पीपल से अनलिमिटेड, बट आवर थिंकिंग माइंड इज हैज अ लिमिटेड थिंग. So unless you stop thinking about one, the other thing that you will think about doesn't come in. And that's when we say, यार go and park yourself somewhere. कि यार मैंने ट्राई किया, नहीं हुआ, I need to recuperate. मेरा कीड़ा जो था एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का थक गया है, उसको थोड़ा रेस्ट देना है मेरे को. I will go and work with a startup which is funded so that I am in that environment and recuperating. Maybe year one. See, जिसको एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप कीड़ा है ना, वो कीड़ा मरता नहीं है. ये थकता है, बेहोश होता है, हाइबरनेशन में जाता है, जो भी होता है, लेकिन मरता नहीं है यार. और ये हमारे ऊपर एंटरप्रेन्योर्स के कुछ होते हैं जिनको एक झटके में ऐसा लगता है वो बेचारे को इतना दबा देते हैं उस कीड़े को कि जिंदगी भर निकल जाती है. और कुछ कहते हैं ठीक है यार, हो गया, थोड़ा रेस्ट करते हैं 1 साल, फिर आएंगे वापस. एंड ट्रस्ट मी, बस there are a million ways of making money. And today with see, sometimes like internet, when internet came in, I remember the boom 2000 2001. I was so excited because internet said कि मैं सारे घर के बदल डालूंगा. तू हेल्थ केयर में तू भी गया, तू कंस्ट्रक्शन में, तू इसमें, तू कौन सी इंडस्ट्री में तू भी गया. आई एम गोइंग टू ब्लडी टच एवरीबॉडी, है ना? And that was the boom because the guys in that industry didn't know internet. The guys who mastered internet quickly, they came in and they ruled it. And all their businesses went online. We know that story, right? Same story is repeating today with AI. People like us who are the slightly older say, यार ये AI की क्या ड्रामा है यार, ये समझ नहीं आ रही. जैसे हमें ब्लॉकचेन नहीं समझ आई, हमें क्रिप्टो नहीं समझ आई, हमें NFT नहीं समझ आई. My son, he runs an online design school. He's invested in Bored Ape करके कुछ है NFT. Very excited. मैंने कहा भाई मेरे को नहीं समझ आती. तो there's a value ना. And today in the boss, अगले 5 से 10 साल में जो डिसरप्शन होने वाली है, and you can think of any industry that will be disrupted, and I'm telling you 10 new industries will come which we can't think of today. So amazing times. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
जिंदगी नहीं है स्टार्टअप, जिंदगी नहीं होती भाई स्टार्टअप को बंदा कहता है मैं 2 साल देने को तैयार हूं. ये तो मारवाड़ियों में भी कहते हैं ना कि गिव 100 days और समथिंग टू अ बिजनेस बिफोर यू 1000 days, और कुछ होता है उनका फंडा.
Okay.
Jimmy will know better. He comes from that lineage. Hardcore business. मैं तो जाट हूँ यार, गलती से आर्टिस्ट बन गया. Anyway, jokes apart. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Yes. Anyone else would like to ask anything? Read anything? Yes, sir.
I think लगता है सबके फंडे क्लियर हो गए.
I think we
got enough to kind of think.
एक फंडा बड़ा अच्छा क्लियर हुआ कि स्टार्टअप इज नॉट एक्चुअल बिजनेस, इट्स एन एक्सपेरिमेंट.
भाई जब वो प्रूव हो जाता है ना, मार्केट में फिट आ गया, और तब इन्वेस्टर तैयार होता है, तब वो बदलता है बिजनेस. उस टाइम वो स्टार्टअप की ड्रामा मत करो, अब साल बिजनेसमैन बन जाओ.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Anil ji. Afrin, over to you. I think we can close. It's almost an hour.
Yes, sir.
मैं तो लगा रहूंगा.
Thank you all for being here. And since we opened our meeting this time for everyone, I see a lot of new names here. If you're keen to learn more about design thinking and evangelizing innovation, do visit our website. I'll share the links in the chat box, so it will be easier for you all to refer to that. I'm just doing that. Yes.
Ma'am, will you send this recording?
I will be sharing this. This recording will be shared on YouTube, and we will be sharing that link to our LinkedIn and everywhere, to every one of our groups and everywhere. And you will be able to see it afterwards.
And
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
we should make some nice reels out of this, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
We'll be making videos
Maza
and
aayega.
reels. Yeah,
Do that. We'll do that for sure.
we are looking forward to that. Yes, we will be doing that. So thank you all for joining us today. Sir, you were saying something?
नहीं, मैं thank you बोला था अनिल जी को कि he took time out to come and share his expertise with all of us. So really appreciate.
Yes.
Thank you so very much, Anil ji, and catch you soon. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
मुझे पैसे दो, मैं तुम्हें स्टार्टअप Take care.
See you. Thank you, Afreen. Thank you.
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.